about a year and a half ago, I connected, well, actually, Mel connected with me, and she joined us, I think, in January of 2018.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
And at the time, I think to her, I said, you will be the most important hire that I'll make, maybe in my entire career at Housecall Pro. And I think now, a year and a half plus into our relationship, you are the most important hire that I've made. And I've made some really great, well, contributed to a number of great hires. And the reason why your contribution is so important is that you connect with every person in our organization. Mm-hmm. You affect how we hire, you affect and impact how we manage our humans to their full potential. So much of the environment that we've created that feeds our culture has come from you and your team. So I'd love to hear your story, if you don't mind, about how did you find us, why did you come to us, and then also, what have you gotten done in the last first 30 and 90 days? I think there's a lot of interesting stories in that to unpack.
Yeah, and you're right. I found you. I think you all had listed that you were looking for a head of people who had 5 to 7 years experience or something, and I reached out and said, hey, I maybe have 3 or 4 times that, but I think we should talk. Mm-hmm. I was looking for a company that was still forming, so something I could put my fingerprints all over. Mm-hmm. A place where my job would be to help people do their best work every day, and that's what we've been able to do. So when I got here, it was just me and 1 or 2 other people on this team that you had started to cobble together, and you challenged me when I got here to develop a world-class management training program. And I had come from creating a world-class management training program, which took me years to create. Yeah. And I think we launched it here on day 28.
Yeah, I think you did. Isn't your 90-day plan? You got it done in the first 30 days. So for a little context, where did you come from and what drew you to Housecall Pro?
Yeah, I spent most of my career at Trader Joe's, which is one of the coolest companies on the planet. It's a grocery store. We had, when I left, about 35,000 employees, but I was there from early days when we were small and people still didn't know who we were. So I was lucky enough to get to come on board and spend almost my entire career building something amazing. And we were based out of LA, and I ended up in San Diego. I went to graduate school down here and met my husband, fell in love, and needed to move to San Diego. So
it's a good reason to come down here.
And San Diego's
lost in our game, ultimately.
San Diego's a pretty great place to be. So I knew that if I couldn't work for Trader Joe's, I wanted to work someplace that needed me, some place that still was in an early enough stage that I could make a difference. And I love the founding story of Housecall. At Trader Joe's, we were really connected to our customers. We really felt like we made their lives better. I mean, it was just food, but it was part of their soul as to what you get up every day, and how you interact with food just makes a difference. And so looking for a company that made a difference. And Housecall makes a difference. They make a difference for our customers, the pro, and then also the pro's customers, the homeowner.
Yeah, so true. It's the magical thing about what we do with this company is that we have this mission, this true north, that is truly compelling. Like I always say that I can build a company, I can sell anything. But to come to work is a privilege here because we have a mission that so many people are excited about. I mean, half of our people come from the trades or family in the trades. Yeah. It's what orients us all. And it goes back to Ian's story and his father being a painter and having always been able to do well for his family, but never really get ahead because he didn't have the tools and the means to do so. And here we built a company to do just that. And having that North Star, you had it at Trader Joe's, right? Yeah. And just having that way of orienting people towards something that's bigger than they are. The religion almost of business to me is this idea that there's something bigger than just you and that we all get to participate in that story every day. Yeah. It's remarkable.
Yeah. Now look, I mean, every company out there, wants to have a head of people and a training program, but not every company wants to really make a difference in the world.
Right.
And it might seem pretty simple, but, connecting pros to their customers in a way that really creates that wow experience for the customer, it does change the
magical,
world.
Isn't it? Yeah. So do you have a single philosophy about people or people practices that you think about?
Yeah, I used to get the question a lot of like, how do you hire such great people? And then I still get that question here at Housecall, which means I think we're doing good work and I'm in the right place. But I think my philosophy boils down to hire great people and then let them be themselves. Don't be too prescriptive or formulaic. In retail, they often have these rules of if a customer is within 10 feet of you, you need to say this, or as you hand the receipt, you need to say, thank you, Mr., and then try to pronounce their name. And I always came at it more from just hire people who like people and then unleash them to do their best work every day.
Yeah.
And so I think that applies even to the skilled trades, because you've got to have the skill, you've got to have the technical ability, but beyond that, if you have a desire to want to serve people and help people and make someone's day, then that's going to come through in any job that you take, in any work that you do.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Like I said, the idea that your position's so important here because of leverage, right? This idea of one to many, ultimately. You're one to all, basically, here as this sort of hub for the entire organization. Leverage is such an important idea. And what you realize is that, I think I talk about this in the mastermind presentation, is that like I'm an army of one.
Yeah.
I can be the best at my craft. I can be the best in HVAC, the best in plumbing, the best home cleaner, but I'm still just one person in that labor. And eventually I have to sleep, right? So I can only do so much work in a given day. Yet, if you could hire extraordinary people, unlock their potential, point them at problems that matter, give them ownership and authorship, and let them go work for you and align with that bigger mission that you have, extraordinary things can happen. And that's how these companies go from 1 to 3, 1 to 5. And then these bigger companies really unlock their potential because they realize it's all about their people. It's all about, as I say, their humans, right?
Yeah.
Getting them to do their best work on a given day. And we've done it in an extraordinary way here and set this great model in place. And what we quickly realized is there's so little, like my contribution is really like Ian's and like yours, just to set the objectives. Like what's the vision that we share in this business? Like what is our mission, this true north, and help unlock the potential of pros? What are the strategies, these bets that we are making? Where are we gonna put resources to work? But the most important part of that equation goes down to the next two pieces, which is what are the goals, these OKRs, objectives and key results. I use the acronym more often than I should. So what are the goals that we set? And then how do we go find extraordinary people and get them to be interested in doing these goals against these strategies as a part of this larger mission? And we've done really well with that. But it's a blueprint for whether it's 210 employees or it's the same blueprint for 2 to 20 employees, don't you think?
Yes, yeah, and it really comes down to management and active management. Whether you have one part-time employee or you've got fleets of trucks and folks out there working for you, having a management practice. I mean, really a practice, not just a philosophy. A philosophy is great, but what are you really putting into action? And so having solid, actions around management and leadership of people is really what separates businesses.
Yeah, we are really deliberate in our practices around people. Like we really, that is our path to greatness, our path to being an extraordinary company, not just a really good one, is great people that we hire, unlocking their potential. And to that end, we take a very active approach to invest in them. And I think it makes a huge difference. I mean, it's paid off great dividends so far. So is there some singular thing that you've observed here in this business that was unique, or that you have been able to go and affect or impact in some way?
Well, I mean, I think it's our ethos of doing the work.
Says it right there.
Yeah. and it means something here. It's not a slogan. You hear it show up when people talk to each other. It shows up when you talk to our customers, when you talk to the pros. And what that really means is that you as as the COO, or me as the senior vice president, I mean, we do the work.
Yes.
I teach management training. You come in and teach with me.
Right.
I mean, we don't get folks to do that work for us. We book our own flights.
Yeah.
We sit in the back of the plane. We haul our own luggage.
We sit at the desk in the middle of the room of a sea of people.
There's no offices here. Yeah.
There's no corner office, and there's no sort of away time. It's like we are with our people all the time, doing the work along with them, side by side.
But I think that's how you get people to do the work for you, is you show them that you're willing to do the work with them.
Yeah, that's so true. You lead from the front, and you lead also in servitude to them, and again, amazing things happen. If you have good problems for them to go solve. But it isn't just your work, it is doing the work along with them, getting them to do something extraordinary, and then great things happen in the company. But it's hard. I mean, can you remember back to a day when did you ever work in a company that you had just a handful of people at that level of scale?
Now this is the smallest. I got here when we were 100 people.
Right.
But my team was just a handful of folks who hadn't done this work before.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a pretty heavy lift at the beginning.
There's so much so I have scaled from nothing to hundreds, and then from 60s to many, many beyond that. And what I found is that the problems you're solving in those early days are very different than the ones you solve in the later days. Or at each stage along the way, that first employee, I think, is a whole different world than just your own work, right? When I can go affect my work, and again, just be in control as an army of one to get to a great outcome, and everything is based on what I do. As soon as you hire that next person, it's what work can they do, how can they be effective, and do you set them up to be successful? Do you challenge them in ways that are intriguing to them, compelling to them? Do you also coach, support, share with them? And I'll tell you, like in my early days, and you know this as well as anyone, I was terrible at that. I was a fierce individual contributor. I was a fierce and intense leader, and I worked 80 plus hours a week, and I drove my people to do the same, but I just told them what to do. And what I found is I can get some people to go run that race because I was charismatic enough, I had enough sort of leadership innate in me, yet you just burn people out. Right? And I just realized I was always falling short of the scale that I wanted or the success that I wanted because I made it about my vision of the world and them having to do it exactly the way I would do it. And the beauty of diversity, the beauty of a range of people working with you, is that it's how they go solve the problem and their excitement about the unique things that they can contribute, and that's what you have to unlock. But I may not tell you, like, I wish that I were smarter than I am so I could get there faster, but it took me a decade plus to figure that whole equation out. And I remember when you came here and we had those first conversations about people practices and about how we go and manage and unlock the potential of managers, it was eye-opening for me as well. And I'd already gone through a few epiphanies along the way before that. So.
Well, I think you and I had shared a similar philosophy, and my phrasing is, you know, my job is to point talented people in the direction of highest impact. And for me, that means finding the talent in everyone. And, you know, hopefully the thing that I hired you for is the thing that you're talented in, and then I can just help unlock that. And sometimes it's not. And can I find another spot for you, or another place, or another organization, or another line of business that might be better for you? But we're all talented. So how do I unlock that talent and point it in the direction of its highest impact?
That's so true. So there's kind of two big ideas that you and I talk about all the time. Hiring, like how do I go find these people and how do I bring them on and make them and help them become a part of our mission, to share that vision that we have, to want to go do the work the way we envision opportunity or where we think it lives. Then we think about how do we manage them to their potential as well. So why don't we talk about both those ideas a little bit, because I think they're interconnected and woven together, but they're discrete ideas. They're their own idea. So how do you think about hiring and what problems and opportunities exist there before we get into the management part of it?
Great. Yeah, let's talk about hiring. I recently spent some time thinking about it and really trying to figure out, you know, what are the keys that I can give someone who's just starting on this process of hiring, or maybe someone who's been doing this a long time but just not getting it right. And there is no silver bullet. There is no one thing that's going to, you know,
everybody
unlock.
wishes there were.
Yeah, you
particularly
know.
a tight labor market, right? Everyone's saying, oh, if I could just do this, then that would happen. I mean, everyone says they can't find good techs. Well, there's a reason for it. Tight labor market's tough, so you got to find a way to solve that problem. That's it.
And I think it comes down to there are four key things that I think people should be looking at when they're looking at hiring. And the first is to really do a good job of telling their story. So even if you're just an owner, operator, you've never hired someone, you're an owner, operator for a reason. So what was that reason? What made you go want to do it yourself? You thought you could do it better. You thought maybe you could do it with more integrity. You know, you thought you had a skill that you know could benefit customers. So tell that story, because these days candidates have choices. You probably won't be their only job offer. So how do they choose you in the end? And part of that is just by sharing who you are. You know, where are you on your journey as a company? You know, why did you get into this in the first place? And sometimes you got to reach back and remember, because if you're out there looking to hire, you're probably frustrated. You're probably overworked. You know, you probably are not sending out the signals necessarily all the time of like, this is the best place to work, because you're in that situation of really needing someone yesterday.
But you want that story to be real, authentic, motivating, like catalyzing for someone to come join your mission, right? Your view of the world that you want to, and the pursuits and the dreams that you have. You want them to become a part of that, so it has to be something that's real and that they'll have that same visceral response that you do.
Yeah, so that's the first, is to really connect with, why you got into this in the first place, and then share that story. So let's say you were going to post a job online or post something down at the local trade school, if they've got a bulletin board. Don't just copy what the other guys are doing. I mean, be informed by that. Like, know how people are describing jobs, but then tell your story. People remember stories. The bullet points are nice, but like, why? Why your company? So that's really the first thing.
Because you're selling, right?
You are, throughout the whole process.
And sales is built on a relationship more than the product, and it's built on storytelling. What people remember are the stories, your narrative of things. So that's super helpful. Okay, what else?
So then the second thing is to have a process, to have a hiring process.
Right.
And
which you are best in class at. And I'm an operator, and I love process, right? I love systems. You are the best hiring process that I've yet come across. And so where did that come from?
Yeah, I mean, we built a replicable machine, to have stages and steps, and then to follow them through. But once you map them out, it does become easy. I mean, it doesn't necessarily create more text in the world, but at least when you find one, you know that you've got a solid process, nothing's getting missed, no balls are getting dropped. If you tell someone you'll call them back on Wednesday, you call them back on Wednesday.
But to be clear, Mel, it's simple. Like, you're not talking about rocket science.
No.
You're talking about just a system that is deliberate, like I'm going to do this and this and this every time.
Right.
So give an example or a couple examples of how our process runs.
Yeah,
might help other people.
So for one of our most common positions, we start with a phone screen. So it's a conversation, it's 20 minutes or so. It's with a member of the people team. And they find out what that person's looking for. Make sure they've read the job description, make sure that they really have the experience they say they do. And then from there, they schedule someone to come in on site and meet with a couple of people. We also have a little sort of work product test where we have them do a mock phone call like they might get. We actually do it while they're here. They sit in one conference room, we sit in the other, and they give us a call, and we go through a bit of a script and just see how do they really sound. So it's a real live demonstration. And then from there, we have a process of voting. It's pretty simple.
Right.
Yes, let's bring them back for an interview. No, let's not. Or like, hey, let's talk about it some. And everyone involved.
Everyone's vote is equal, right?
Everyone's vote is equal. Yeah, I can't overrule the process. Right. We all collaborate, and then we do
because we all have to work with that person.
Absolutely.
So it's important that we all have a say. And no matter what my position or your position is, the people in the front line are the ones who will be closest to that individual most likely anyway. So everyone has an equal vote.
Yep, everyone has equal vote. And then we bring them back for one final interview and do the same round of voting and then make an offer. And we can run that process over and over again, and we can run it with amazing speed, and we will often talk to candidates who have 2 or 3 things in process and we finish first, but not because we cut a corner or don't do the work. We don't do the work. Right. We do the work. We do the interviews, we go through the process, we check references, but we just keep it moving quickly, and that's...
I've noticed this, and I think I've interviewed now, hundreds and hundreds of people. You do the little things really well also. Make sure that everyone who's interviewing, so let me say it differently. You make sure that when that candidate comes to our office, and even long before and even after, they have an extraordinary experience. Because we want our employer brand to stand for something, right? That they're going to learn something, they're going to grow, and they're going to develop by coming here and participating in this process, regardless whether they get the job or not. Yeah. So little things like, you make sure that the interviewers, myself included, show up on time. Yeah. Because you want to make sure that I'm being respectful of their time, that I'm investing in them in some way.